Welcome, everybody. We're going to sort of close out the Cancun cruise fiasco a little bit later in the show, but to talk about sort of good things that came out of this horrible situation in Texas, we have a remarkable situation in the United States where a Democratic New York Congresswoman seems to be better representing the interests of Texas residents than their own actual Republican U.S. Senator Ted Cruz. I'm talking about Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as well as Texas Democrat Beto O'Rourke and other Democrats who came together. And while Ted Cruz was flying back and forth to Cancun, Mexico, appearing on the Sean Hannity program to give conflicting and bizarre explanations about exactly why he thought it was a good idea at any point to go to Cancun in the midst of storms and power outages afflicting his state. In the midst of all that, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez took to Twitter to announce a fundraising effort. Within 2 hours, she raised $325,000. By yesterday morning, she and Beto O'Rourke and others had raised more than $4 million. And there's a good chance that by the time you listen to today's show and watch this clip, she will have raised $5 million or more dollars for Texas victims of these storms and power outages. She also didn't just do online fundraising. She actually went down to fill food boxes at a Houston food bank with Representatives Sylvia Garcia and Al Green and Sheila Jackson Lee. And in the midst of all of this insanity with Texas politicians who voted against Hurricane Sandy aid, but that said, give us the Texas aid now for the power outages, and flew to Cancun and back and said, oh, the girls wanted to go on a trip, blah, 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 blah. It is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, supposedly enemy number one for a lot of these Republicans, who has actually put boots on the ground, for lack of a better term, raised money, got food boxes together for people unable to get food. And again, when you are a Texas voter and you see that a Democratic congresswoman from another state is doing more for you than your own senator, it really should make you reconsider whether you are represented by the best people. And I sent out a couple of tweets about this. I tweeted over the weekend, have Ted Cruz, Greg Abbott, and others thanked AOC for her huge fundraising for Texas victims of the storms and power outages? As of this moment, they have not. But I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they sort of feel obligated to put together some kind of perfunctory thank you to all of those who have helped us in our relief efforts. Also, I tweeted this morning, the Texas fundraising story is crazy. It genuinely seems like AOC and Beto O'Rourke haven't embezzled any of the money, nor put their families on staff to funnel cash to them, something that became basically standard operating procedure under the Trump administration, Donald Trump putting everybody from Lara Trump to who knows who else on his campaign staff, paying them $180,000 a year, and so on and so forth. Now, just one other side story with the insanity of this. Not only have AOC and Beto O'Rourke done more for Texas than has Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz ended up desperately attempting a PR photo op where he was putting packages of bottled water in the trunks and vehicles of Texans. And it's like there's no more pathetic attempt to make up for his flying to Cancun than to be photographed handing out water. But that raised another question. Why isn't Ted Cruz in quarantine right now? Ted Cruz flew to Mexico and then flew back the next day. Was he tested in Mexico in the 20 hours or 18 hours that he was there? Do we know for sure that Ted Cruz is not potentially positive for coronavirus right now? Shouldn't he be, and absent a coronavirus test, quarantining right now rather than out and about? Like, we may never know the answers to these questions. And of course, we were all asking, wait a second. Ted Cruz admits that he had a bunch of his daughter's friends over for dinner the day before going to Cancun. And then he went to Cancun and then he flew back the next day. Is he being tested at any point during this? Is he adhering to the protocols about requiring tests to go to Mexico, to come back to Mexico by the United States? We just have no idea. and we may never even get answers to these questions, but they're questions we're not ignoring. Is it some kind of exception for senators? I don't know, but we should be getting answers to this. And of course, with Ted Cruz, as with many of these people, it's, yeah, sure, these are the rules, but not for me. And that seems to apply, unfortunately, to many of our leaders. And it's not just Republicans that's the case with, but we will talk a little bit more about the Ted Cruz fiasco later on. When you see me sitting here at the microphone, oftentimes I'm wearing a shirt by a company called Teddy Stratford. And I love these shirts so much that I asked Teddy Stratford to be a sponsor of the show. And here's why I like their shirts so much. With other slim fit button-up shirts, you often get this weird looking gap between the buttons where it looks kind of stretched out. But Teddy Stratford actually has a patented zipper that's hidden underneath the buttons, which secures the shirt against your chest so it doesn't look stretched. And most importantly, it just provides a nicer looking fit overall. And the entire shirt is specially designed to really improve the way your upper body looks when you're wearing it. It also has a special type of collar that prevents it from drooping down and spreading open, which is another really great thing about these shirts. All of these things really do a lot to make a big difference when you're looking at a shirt. And that's why I like to wear Teddy Stratford shirts on the show. Go check them out at davidpakman.com/Teddy. The link is down below and they'll give you 15% off your first order if you use the coupon code Pakman at checkout.